And Dr. Sean. All right. Claire, there's a little thing here on this one. Oh, thanks so much. So even if Sean Hong Lu and I don't know personally each and every one of you, we know that each of you, we can see that you're beautiful and amazing. And I want to thank all of the Zoomers too. You're here with us totally. So I began hosting my goddess salons over 12 years ago, and I have taken a pause the past few years. And my life has transformed dramatically in the past 6 months with the support of many of my girlfriends who are on Zoom and in this room. And so Dr. Lu and I decided it was time to go deeper, and you too, and continue to support more women in awakening to their brilliance and their power. So our wish, our prayer for tonight is for you to receive goodness and guidance that will infuse you with more radiance and vitality, empowering you to take the next steps on your path to creating a more beautiful life for yourself. And therefore, each of us can be a greater gift to the upliftment of our planet. So I know that's deep stuff, but that's why Sean Hong and I hang out, and that's why we're here. So thank you so much, Sean Hong, for choosing Chicago as part of your entree back into the world and leaving beautiful Crystal Mountain, Mount Shasta, and coming down and being with us. I suppose we're magic, we're also muggles, but down here on planet Earth, you know, so. And so she has an amazing bio that would literally take me kind of the whole time we're here tonight to run through. But bottom line, you're an MD PhD. I want to talk about your mom. Her mother is still a practicing cardiologist in Beijing at 96, born in the year of the dragon. Also, her grandmother, upon punishment like death, unbound her feet and escaped and became a midwife. So Sean Hong comes from a mother line that's very, very powerful. And she also focuses on regenerative, anti-aging, genetic, and environmental medicine. So you've lectured all over the world and have helped thousands and thousands and thousands of people. So, and she's just like a beaming light, right? So I also want to thank the wonderful Catholic wrestler. We all love her so much for her infinite support always of all of us, and for creating beautiful altar as a sacred gathering place for all who identify as women. And please explore all of the incredible offerings here and share with your friends. I'm a member of Altar, so that's an opportunity for you to do and spend more time here. And also, you don't have to be a member to just experience all the incredible things that happen. And please feel free to speak with Kathy anytime. And next Tuesday night, there's an open house, so you're welcome. Tuesday day. Oh, next Tuesday day. Next Tuesday day, May 10th. Time?
9 to 6.
9 to 6 all day is an open house here at Altar. So I encourage you to come, and every person who has not been here yet, which is a lot of you, has just been in awe. So I think you can just see from this small little bit how incredibly magical it is. And there's a labyrinth over here, and there's a womb room behind us, and the lift room, and the co-nesting space. So you have to come and explore. So we'd really love to have you. So I originally, when I wrote this, there were 88 people, which is a fabulous abundance number and a totally cool number in China. And I guess now there's close to 97 people registered. And so we feel so blessed that everybody's here. Lovely Claire will be managing Zoom and the logistics for the event. So if you fabulous Zoomers have any questions or tech issues, please just ping her directly in the chat. And we're going to start with a really brief meditation just to settle in. So, oh gosh, everybody knows how to meditate now. Back in the day, I had to give so many instructions. Okay, so we'll just skip it. No. So just gently close your eyes. and allow yourself to fully arrive. Breathe in deeply and breathe out long. Take another deep breath in and breathe out long. Just gently settle into the lovely energy that is present here. Now let's take a few moments to imagine yourself as a radiant, healthy, and vibrant woman at the age of 80. Feel your smile. Experience your thoughts as gentle and positive. Your life is joyful and peaceful. Even if imagining this is a challenge now, simply allow for the possibility in the future. Feel that you are in love with yourself. You are in love with your life. You have been living a good life. At the age of 80, you are celebrating yourself for your courage, for weathering the storms of your life. You have earned your wisdom and your great love. Experience gratitude for the beautiful life you have created. When you're ready, just take a moment, take a few deep breaths, and gently open your eyes. So Shan Hong and I fortunately are the best of friends, both born in the Chinese Year of the Rabbit, Shan Hong's almost 59. So, and we've spent the last 12 years having an infinite number of conversations. And we're dedicated to supporting women in creating vibrant and happy lives that extend even beyond 80. So we're going to attempt to share some of our wisdom from all of our years of exploration, research, reading, talking to integrative physicians, talking to your patients, my clients, consultations during this very brief program tonight. So sex, lies, and menopause. So let's get to it. So sex and menopause are definitely rather taboo subjects in our culture. It's a big deal. I didn't even put the E in the SEX because I was afraid of getting popped out of MailChimp or Instagram or something. So we hope to uncover some of the misconceptions and misunderstandings and offer you a clear path to owning your own powerful sexuality, as well as your wellness and your life force. So I'm going to begin with a few of my questions for Shan Hong, and then we're going to invite you to ask your questions. In between my questions and your questions, Shan Hong has 3 slides that she's going to talk about that are fantastic. So, and if you're on Zoom and have little ones around, even though I've been practicing meditation for decades, I love the F word. So, and we will be talking about sex. So you may want to put in earbuds and not let your kids hear some kind of wild word or something. So, okay, let's go. Millions of women have experienced breast cancer. So many of my friends, we've talked about this, have had breast cancer. ovarian and cervical cancers, as well as millions are struggling with autoimmune challenges, endocrine disruption, hormonal disruption, issues during menopause, and fertility issues are epidemic, right? So you are a goddess of hormones. So tell us, what's happening?
So I believe we are at the most critical time in the planet health history, and that directly affects humanity. And as humans, we're part of the member of the earth.
Right.
And just in the past 20, 30 years, we're really seeing the consequence of 20 years of environmental pollution. And these pollutions oftentimes are invisible. And one of them is our food. I mean, if you have ever visited the farm land, the industrial agriculture, is people wear total body suits to spray our food. And the question is, if they're wearing all this protection and spraying the food we're going to eat, and what that means is these people are absolutely crazy, right? Anybody can see that.
Right.
But we're not seeing it because we don't live in the agricultural land anymore. Farmers are becoming actually in deep debt with the agricultural chemical company because the food they're growing become weak and become less mineral sufficient. So the food itself, the plants itself become weak. So they require more insecticides, fungicides, more weed killers because they become weak. And when you look at our humans, we actually have the same thing. So we become weak, we need more drugs, we need more things to keep us going. So these two unsustainable phenomena are absolutely in parallel. And the problem is, in our country, chemicals can be released without any kind of testing. By 1994, this is actually early on, there's like 5 million chemicals are registered by the, in the United States alone. How many of them have been ever tested? Even short-term tested, right? Very, very few. So that's really, our body are experiencing something we never have experienced. Now, some people say, how come, some people get sick and some people don't. That's really when we come down to genetic. Genetic evolution have created some variation in our body's ability to detoxify. So when we have people, they can't detoxify very well, they will start to experiencing difficulties. And some people will be autoimmune, some people will be hormonal disruption. Thyroid disease is becoming actually international pandemic. We don't see it, and if you Google top 10 prescribed drug, or prescription, the very first one is synthetic thyroid. And
So the thyroid
gland here. And of course, people just, as women, both me and Julie had Hashimoto. And how I discovered I have Hashimoto is actually I was testing women's antibodies one day. And I usually see 18 patients a day. And that day, particular day, 16 of them are tested positive. So by the end of the day, I said, well, maybe I should test myself too. And to my shock, my antibody was so high, it was the highest among all these women. Most of them are 300 or 100. My level was 2,000. And that's really, it brought this shocking realization that everyone, no matter you're wealthy, or poor, or you're a man or woman, all of us are being, exposed to this invisible challenge of modern life pollutions. When that's really something I become very passionate, because in the past, we have amazing physicians here. When you have somebody have hormone issues, it's simple. You give them the hormone pill or the hormone replacement grow well naturally. And many of them have life-changing stories. And they will say, my hair grow back, I'm sleeping, I have mental clarity. But today, that very short window of benefit is very short-lived. A lot of them start having hormonal issues, even though they are being taken care of. So that's really something I want to share with people. Toxins not only affect the hormone effect, because many of them get on the receptor and give you different results, and their metabolism is connected with your liver and your gut. Without your healthy liver and gut, the hormone you applied will not be adequately metabolized, and oftentimes people start to accumulate them. I saw one of the ladies, she had very high dose of the level of estrogen, even though she was using it only one time. And like a couple months later, her hormone level was still very high. So these kind of things start to make me realize anti-aging medicine today will not be possible without detoxification. And it's absolutely, you can't do it if you are not eating organic food and actively help your body to remove toxins. So that's really something I realized, and that actually affect fertility. And I don't know if you guys are aware, our children, their sexual identity start to become very much a problem. I mean, right now, politically, we have different categories. And recently I saw a teenage girl, she was 14. She lost her pituitary function when she was born. And then she was getting, growth hormone injections and thyroid. And then she's turning into, a teenager. So they decided to start giving her estrogen. And she absolutely hated estrogen. She become actually very depressed. And then she will switch initially with a girl, as a girl, and into, now I'm a lesbian. And then she now doesn't even feel she's a lesbian. And she's now calling herself they or it, or not it, they. And she doesn't want to identify herself, right, as man or woman. And this kind of thing, of course, we need to honor her decision, but it's not natural in any sense. So it's really something we have to really ask why, right? What is affecting her brain, her, hormonal system? It's absolutely what's in the food, what she's breathing in, and those are invisible, right? They're invisible. So we now have ways to measure it. We can measure people's urine. We have oligo scan, can look at your heavy metal. We need to see what is the exposure is. Meanwhile, I share with Pam, we need to look at the genetic. We need to look at how you methylate, how you detoxify, how do you metabolize your hormones and neurotransmitters, cardiovascular risk. These are tools we have today. I mean, 10 years ago, we didn't have all these. So now we have these tools we can use so we can actually come ahead of the disease. That's really what I learned in the past 2 years, is we are a crisis management system that completely failed. And people don't understand that. They just thought our system is the best system. Like, so when we say we don't really know about this virus, people can't accept that, right? If you're in the hospital, your life should be safe. And so in the past 2 years, we've come to first shocked, right? Disappointed and afraid. And then we realize our immune system as a nation is crap. It does not work. So that's really something I learned, is we are not healthy. We're all waiting for crisis management. We're not addressing something deeply affecting us much earlier. So when people say, I don't have any complaint right now, that's actually perfect timing. You've got to get your nutrition, your genes, your environment all checked out. And then you can prevent the crisis and relapses. And people don't really understand that's actually very devastating. Last year, we lost people, chiropractors and physicians, spouse, they look healthy, and then they suddenly have this COVID and goes. So it's really important to know Just because we don't have symptoms, we don't have a diagnosis, we can actually just kind of do not, ignore the fact that we are under tremendous stress, we have lots of toxins. And another thing I really want to mention is I live in Mount Shasta, we didn't have 5G, okay? So when I first came out, I actually decided to test myself to see if I'm falling apart, because this is actually a real world. And so 5G is for real. It's absolutely affecting us. And sometimes the cell phone radiation, it actually affects the mitochondria, it causes mitochondrial damage. And many of them are cumulative. People say, oh, I quit using cell phone. But it's a cumulative effect as well. So many things, chemical pollution, heavy metal, EMF damage, actually are cumulative. So we really need to address it as soon as possible. That's really one of the things Julie want to do is call for actions at the end. Because environmental physicians have been talking about this for 55 years. Why there's so many little things are done? Why? You go to the functional medicine doctors, they're still not testing toxins. So I'm really, my journey is I'm actually calling for all the practitioners all over the country 5 years ago. Said, let's do this. Let's look at your patient's toxin level. And many of them said, my patient already did every test. We already did everything. Like we just recently saw a patient and she has this thick stack of tests and they don't have any genetic, they don't have any environmental toxins, which is not just mold. A lot of people get mold tested. Mold, chemicals, heavy metals. None of them is complete if you just do mold, okay? So very important calling I'm doing now. I actually quit my practice. I just decided to teach physicians, we do online consulting at very affordable price so people can start getting help. And I want to thank Gretchen, she's sending a lot of patients. Also, we'll talk about, and then Dr. Vesna is our amazing team. And she is going to test a lot of people too.
So Shannon, you look so happy and healthy, but it's such a depressing topic. Like I just feel so like, and I mean, I've been talking to you about it for years, but like, so you have told me that there are xenoestrogens, false estrogens in the environment that actually sit on the estrogen receptor sites so that women actually are estrogen dominant, right? But it's actually not their estrogen, it's actually toxic. So the bottom line is, okay, there's 5G, we have environmental toxins, glyphosate totally messes up the microbiome, Monsanto's Roundup, so like, I mean, we did discuss this top. Yeah, I mean, it's a big effing deal, like, so,
Right.
so, I mean.
Very good question, very good question. So I tell people we're all think about yourself as a bucket. And the bucket will get full, like young people actually are born with 288 chemicals. And they're not even born yet, actually, they're inside mom, and they actually did umbilical blood sampling. A lot of them already have it. So we're a bucket. The bucket will start to fill up. Now our body detoxifies naturally. So everybody should know that. We have ways to support the body to detoxify. But nevertheless, many of them are forever chemicals that they don't come out naturally, so you have to support them. But let's see the bucket is filling up. And everybody have a tolerant level, okay? So my goal is not to make you completely clean. It's impossible. We actually have a thing called homeostasis. Homeostasis is your body has some toxins, you actually activate your antioxidant enzymes, you activate your detox, you actually become stronger. So it's good to have a little bit of toxin. To completely pure, number one, is not possible, and it's too stressful to even think about it. So you have the toxic load, you have a tolerant level. So our goal is to lower that level below the individual tolerant level, see? And then leave some room so you could, go out to eat without falling apart. So I always tell people, it's not we're trying to make you pure, it's impossible. We're just trying to lower that level below your individual tolerant level.
Okay, and then, and your experience has been, I mean, I'm an example, so your experience has been then that women actually can restore some of their health.
Absolutely. So last 2 years, I decided, instead of, getting all depressed, can't go anywhere, I decided to formulate a program. The program will detoxify you every single day. I look at my genes, I look at my toxin level, and I will start the detox. And detox need to be very gentle, need to be every day. I can't emphasize, we used to do like seasonal cleanse. The Chinese medicine say seasonal cleanse. Your body need to unload some toxins. We also do fasting. That's a really good way. But it turns out today, if we live today, we need to detox every day. Okay, well, you can take like a couple of days off. I think we should do it every day. Let me tell you what. When you download a bunch of toxins, your body can feel good, you're pooping good, right? What happened inside the body? There is a redistribution and recycle. Recycling of the toxins are actually dangerous because you're not detoxing, so they're just flowing around. I had a woman, she lost 75 pounds from doing some incredible, diet and exercise, and she stopped, right? So, I lost 75 pounds, I feel pretty great. And she developed breast cancer. No, she didn't develop breast cancer right away. She developed it a year later, you see? And I feel because she stopped detoxing, a lot of, our fat actually is a pretty good place to store toxins. So skinny people actually have no storage room. It's actually not a good thing because we see so many skinny people. Our friends, skinny people have have cancer, right? Because they don't have the storage room. So weight loss is such a big thing. So women like to stay thin. But when the toxins are coming out, where does it go? Bone marrow is very fatty. Brain, fatty. Breast, fatty, right? The breast is not, it's actually very fatty. So unless you're breastfeeding, then you have milk. But it's a place toxin tend to go. Especially heavy metal tend to go to the brain and the bone marrow. And what's really devastating is I have so many people do bone broth. Okay, and they do feel good. And I think because the bone
You're
broth
just like busting things up right now, you know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? Like
bone
bone
broth.
broth, and everybody's like, oh my God. Yeah, okay. Maybe everybody needs to take a breath, I think, for a moment.
Well, in my husband actually was in health food industry, and he used to go to this annual expo. Huge, all the vendors, everybody's there, and they always have something trendy. Okay, that they want to sell things, it's trendy because people go in, and it started with gluten-free, and then they go to the collagen, then they go to the bone broth, bone broth.
She's looking at me because I use collagen.
Okay. Yeah, collagen. So what it is yes, in Chinese culture, we used to do bone soup. Okay, it's full of minerals and make you feel strong, and people feel and taste good. And bone soup is very popular, but that's 100 years ago. That's 50 years ago. Today, our animals are mostly fed on GMO food. GMO food is actually not for people to eat. You guys know? 80% are being fed to fish, to chicken, pork. Cows don't eat grains normally, but they are really strong in animal product. And because they're fat soluble toxins, so PCBs are not even found in wild Alaskan salmon. Okay? So I usually do say you can eat a wild Alaskan salmon because they're low in mercury, and now they found in certain Alaska salmon, wild caught, also have PCB. So fish oil. How many people take fish oil?
Don't raise your hand.
Okay. So, I was working with a Norwegian fish oil company. They actually, the Nordic Omega and then Zenzino are the only two companies from Norway test and purify their end product. Very important. You ask them for the end product testing. Because PCBs is something, it doesn't go away. It goes to your endocrine system, go to the fat. So that's really something we have to update our nutritional information here, right? We have normally it's like healthy food, whole food, and Dr. Beslan used to be a gourmet chef.
She's still a gourmet.
Okay, she hasn't cooked for me yet, so I don't know. I think it was for her the other day.
So she said.
So she's a wonderful, and Pamela too. They're wonderful nutritional resources. Today, when we talk about food, it's no longer protein, fat, carb. We're talking about chemicals. Which chemical are very high in certain food? And I'm seeing vegans are high in glyphosate, which is herbicides. It's really something we have to start to address. What's being sprayed, what is concentrated in these food. We have to, because we're seeing the 50 years of poisoning, because Monsanto's product have been used since 1974, you see? So it's not just past couple of years, it's really accumulated effect, and that's what we're seeing today.
Yeah.
Environmental
I don't even
medicine.
know if I want to talk with you about sex. I mean, I know all this, but like, even for me, who's known it for a long time, and was vegan for many years, and primarily eats a plant-based diet. I mean, it is, I didn't think we'd go down this road. It is really overwhelming, I mean, so ideally, we should start with eating as much of a plant-based diet and organic food as possible, correct? And having clean water, so ideally filtered water, a high-quality filter beyond the Brita, right?
Yeah, so filtered water, you have to have reverse osmosis and carbon. Carbon alone, like the refrigerator, right? We all use that, because that's not bad, right? But
Pointing at me.
the carbon water filter does not filter most like fluoride, glyphosate, industrial pharmaceutical drugs, people's estrogen is in the water, we do lots of estrogen related. When you pee, where did it go, right? It goes in the water system. So you have reverse osmosis together with carbon is the ideal. A reverse osmosis will remove pretty much 90% of pollutants. So if you have a good reverse, that's pretty good.
Okay, so you're drinking good water, you're eating primarily organic food, hopefully, right? Primarily plant-based. If you eat animal protein, ideally wild-caught salmon, grass-fed,
Yes.
maybe from a farm in Wisconsin that's heritage, whatever.
And don't eat too much.
But all of that's a big deal. All of
That
those
is a big
choices are a
deal.
big deal. And
And the hope is the toxins are below your tolerant level. And that's when I started doing the metal detox for a while. And I suddenly realized my EMF sensitivity is gone. It's gone.
so what's EMF?
So EMF is electromagnetic frequencies. We didn't have that, many years ago. Cell phone, 5G. You guys probably have 5G in Chicago. So those are very high energy electro waves, so radiation waves. The reason 5G is very, very bad is because we have radiation waves on this, ionized radiation. We have regular light wave, these are all waves. 5G, so you have a kind of a spectrum of a light wave. 5G is right on the border. It's almost as strong as the ionized radiation. So it's a very, very powerful effect on your mitochondria. Our bodies are very electrically, active. So it's so strong, it starts to create mitochondrial damage. Mitochondria is also very sensitive to environmental toxins. And so, of course, you go to a health food store, they have mitochondria, ATP, and I was like, if you don't detoxify the mitochondria, all these CoQ10, you name it, NAD, people like NAD is anti-aging secret. Why do we need NAD if the mitochondria is being poisoned? The NAD is not going to be used. It's going to be, you just buy expensive NAD. You see? So I'm not really good for the nutritional supplement industry because if you don't detoxify, you can take all the antioxidant.
Right.
It's just mopping the floor. I tell
Right.
people, if you have a sink, the water, is flowing over, you have a plugged sink, you have an overwhelming, water, you're not turning it off. The floor is loaded with like glutathione deficiencies everywhere.
Okay,
We have people taking vitamin C. You can take those and mop the floor, but if you don't unplug the sink and turn off the faucet, it's not really working anymore, right? So that's why environmental medicine is a pain, but once you turn it off, your body is absolutely amazing. And I can tell you that for a fact. I'm almost 60. I can ride my bike up the mountain, high altitude, talking a storm. I do not have trouble breathing, right? And you can actually do more when you're older. And that's really something we all want to do. I don't want to be like,
that is true. I want to say, I've known you for 12 years. You look younger than what we met. You know what I mean? So, I mean, you're a testament to, but for those of us who live not on the Crystal Mountain, it's like water, good food, and, we certainly can talk to you more, but
Yeah.
it's a lot.
but it's
So-
something you do every day. It's not like 500 things, it's 3 things. You pretty much detox the chemical and the mold and the heavy metal, like 3 things.
Okay, so let's talk about, you said to me the other day, something really interesting that I didn't know, that I've shared with a few people, that the female hormone estrogen
Mhm.
actually supports the desire and the drive to have sex. So we could extrapolate that women are actually sexually insatiable.
Yes. Absolutely.
Okay,
Yeah.
so, but the testosterone is sort of the action. So men think that they are actually the founders of sexual desire, right? But that is not the case. And yet, I've talked to so many women who have very suppressed sexual desire. And many women who are in partnerships, and everybody does it differently. So, but for women who actually feel like they'd like to, but they don't feel like so that too, is that endocrine disruption? Is that, I'm assuming that's what's happening, and so.
That's a very complicated challenge because right now our millennials are not having sex either. So it's not just the older, woman goes through menopause, we're losing estrogen, we're losing the liquid, the juiciness, right? It's painful for lots of, I just met a woman, she almost wanted to have a divorce because she is in such pain and then she feels like
When she has sex.
Right. And she loved her husband. She said, maybe you should marry somebody else because I cannot do it. I just can't do it. But that's, that's part of the natural thing.
Okay, I think you need to explain what happens physiologically, because I don't know how many women have great, see that's not, you know what I mean? I don't know how many women have great physicians who actually explain to them exactly what's happening, right? So that,
Interesting.
so
I just assume everybody knows.
does everybody know about what happens in menopause
No,
to
tell
our
us.
vagina? Right, so thinning of the vaginal lining, right? Is estrogen,
Yeah, so basically our body, actually time perfectly to create environment for giving birth, to get pregnant and reproduction. So the hormones actually not only contribute the lining, but also the healthy shedding. So it's like everything is in cycle. Now, estrogen actually builds the lining at the beginning, from day 1 to 12. And then progesterone, after you ovulate, will start to give vascular structure in the lining. So the lining are very plumpy, also full of blood. So when you have the egg, then you can have babies, right? So everything is for
Procreation.
reproduction, right? So when you go through perimenopause, now how many people know perimenopause actually happen around age 30? And people like, oh, I thought only when you stop menstruation, it actually happen pretty young. But it's not that late, so it happens pretty young. So when you first start going perimenopause, is we don't ovulate, we stop ovulate regularly. And when you don't ovulate, you have lack of progesterone. So everybody know that because we're like estrogen dominant, cause all these problems, autoimmune. But it's really when you lose the progesterone in your picture, right? So women are different. We are definitely the result of natural rhythm of estrogen and progesterone. So when we go through perimenopause, where a woman gets too busy, like young women, they're too busy, they're always stressed out, they don't sleep. Well, what do? When your body is stressed, pituitary gland shuts down. Like you're too stressed, you need to deal with your stress. So pituitary gland focus on adrenal. They push the adrenal and make you survive another day, have 5 jobs, at the same time be a perfect woman, exercise all the time. So you're having that loss of pituitary, which control the ovulation. So we don't ovulate, but we don't really know because we're having a period. I used to think if you have a period, you should be ovulating. That is not true. We're still having a period. We're still having estrogen. Estrogen is always there. So we have a hormone imbalance. But when we go through menopause, is we stop producing estrogen and progesterone altogether. Now, if you have good adrenal function, adrenal will kick in and start producing some estrogen and progesterone. And so not everybody completely just crash, okay? Not everybody. But the problem is our adrenal is overworking on other things. Would you, Kathy, when she's going through, she's now wanting to create more things. We become wiser, we become incredible creative. We are now ready to do things. So we don't have, our adrenal have to deal with that. So suddenly the adrenal is now producing the sex hormones as we used to. Because our mother, my grandmother lived until 96, she didn't look depleted. But because modern women, we have so much more opportunity, we're pushing our adrenal to do more. So we're no longer to replace the ovary function. So we're seeing more and more postmenopausal issues. You see, especially skinny women, come down to skinny women, again.
Poor skinny women.
I know, I here, skinny woman, we don't have the fat. The fat actually is precursor for estrogen too. So we used to say, hormone replacement is easier not on skinny women because we can't store any estrogen. So again, something it's really important to understand. People think sex hormone control only sex, right? Because we call it sex hormone.
Right.
But it turns out estrogen control your immune system. Your Th1, which is your cellular immunity, is supported by estrogen. Progesterone supports your adaptive immune system. So women need this both to balance their immune system. That's why we have more autoimmune when we are not balanced. So when compared to men, just have testosterone, right? So it's really important to know that. Estrogen also controls serotonin receptor production. So actually, when you have estrogen, you're just happy, period, okay? And then progesterone controls the GABA receptor. GABA gives you peace and calm. We have so many women going through the perimenopause and they suddenly become very anxious. And hormone replacement without progesterone is a disaster because those women will be taking all kinds of CBD oil, valerian root, and natural GABA. They become, the thing that doesn't make sense is people take so many supplements and pharmaceutical drug, Ativan, at the same time on hormone replacement. Does not make sense at all. Like why the hormone replacement is not addressing anxiety and depression, right? So that's another thing. Dementia. Alzheimer's disease is becoming so concerning. And women, we have 3 times more Alzheimer's than men. 3 times. Why all the brain doctors are men?
Yeah.
And the hormone receptors, estrogen receptors, hold our brain volume. Human growth hormone, estrogen, hold your brain volume. When you lose it, our drastic decline causes the brain atrophy. Okay, so it's really important for me. Hormones are not just about sex drive, not just about skin, because a lot of people, like the skin thing, but it's really about our brain, our bone. How many people heard about osteoporosis, right? And they're taking calcium, they're taking different bone strengthening. I'm sure they're good, okay? I'm not against it. My mom took vitamin D and calcium her whole life, and her brain, her bone just started to fall apart. Every time she twists her body, she breaks something. And I'm here, watching her breaking all her bone. And then they put the cement in her spine. And I'm a very, very active person. I want to ride my bike until 98. I don't know why 98 is the number. I really want to ride my bike. I crash all the time. I don't want to break anything. So bone is not just calcium, not just vitamin D. Estrogen, progesterone, one is an osteoblast, one is osteoclast. It's a dynamic process. The bone have to have 2 working together in synergy. Estrogen on bone at low dose does not do osteoporosis. Like I measured it. I have people taking Premarin. They still have bad
taking
bone.
Premarin? Do people know that Premarin
This
is?
was before bioidentical hormone program. So it's really important to understand our body have 2 hormones, and that have to work together in synergy. So that's really something I want to tell people when you look at, I was talking about the lip. Okay, a lot of people, by the time they have this lip, these old dogs, and then they have these little wrinkles, like they're smokers, but they're not smokers, right? What is that? That is actually estrogen deficiency. Okay, so when people have that, I don't just see that. I see the brain shrinking, bone brittle, and memories, right? And then heart. I had a heart rate variability machine that I was measuring, traveling, and I went to the hormone conference and measured all these female doctors who have been on the hormone program. Their arteries are fantastic. Their arteries have no problem, and they don't take all the nitric oxide and vasodilators and all that. Estrogen is so important for the heart, and women's heart disease start to go up right around menopause. Before that, they're protected. And last year when COVID hit, estrogen protected, right? We don't have as many problems as men. So estrogen is not just about sex and skin. And so that's really important. So when I'm talking about estrogen, it's really progesterone too. Is that too complicated?
Question? Well, first thing, can I just sum up to see if I understand what you said? So the body's creating estrogen and progesterone. Yeah. But sometimes the body will, if it's in a stress state, will send energy to the kidneys to just be fighting, and then it won't be creating progesterone or having ovulation.
Right. So actually, it's the pituitary gland. The pituitary gland control your ovulation. People with brain injury may lose the pituitary function, so we are not producing that. There's a hormone called FSH, goes way up right before you ovulate. That stimulates your egg to be developed. That hormone is from the pituitary gland. So that is suppressed by stress, trauma, suddenly going through tremendous stress, and brain injury. Brain injury can actually stop. Pharmaceutical birth control pills. What is that? Right? People will have, my daughter was getting this whatever shot. That's a pharmaceutical kill of the brain to regulate your ovulation. It's not just blocking, conception. It's actually the pituitary injury is the number one key. Have you guys heard of pituitary gland? Dr. Besner had a really good talk. It's right behind your third eye. It controls your adrenal, human growth hormone production, sex hormone, of the cycles. The cycles are not just like our ovary just does it by yourself. The brain actually controls the cycle. You see, pituitary gland, physicians don't really want to talk about it because first of all, we don't know what to do with it. So when you don't know what to do, they just ignore it, right? This young girl, you can talk to the mother. When she didn't have her pituitary, she was injured during birth, she has to have human growth hormone injection every day, thyroid. She has to take her cortisone because she can't produce the pituitary gland that tells the adrenal to produce cortisol. You see, she's taking all the hormones, right? Because the pituitary is not there. And people don't think about it. When they talk about adrenal fatigue, they give you adrenal hormones. They don't think about, well, perhaps is the pituitary gland not working? Do you see that? It is so, we have treated so many people with chronic adrenal insufficiency. They're taking steroids 4 times a day. When you restore the pituitary function, your adrenal, there's nothing wrong with your adrenal. It's your commander is now telling the adrenal to produce hormones. Do you see? So that important master gland is constantly being ignored. I am not kidding you. People don't talk about it, don't ask for brain injury history, sport injury, right? They don't. I mean, I just recently saw an environmental medicine doctor's friend. I mean, she's like a Western prize, does nutrition. Her son, 19 years old, chronic fatigue. And they say, oh, you have mold. It's out in the whole house, mold removed, everything. And he's still not feeling good, right? And she said, could you help my son? My first question is, do you have history of brain injury? Oh yeah, I have a couple of them. She used to play football and soccer. You guys don't play soccer. There's something called the head, they get to the ball. That injury from 2 people colliding is very big injury to the brain. So again, she was like shocked. Like nobody asked that simple question. Yes.
How do you address the pituitary gland? Like, how do
I do that? So we usually order a bunch of hormone that's produced by the pituitary gland. So human growth hormone need to be measured because that's the only hormone pituitary gland produces. Okay, so we do IGF-1, we do TSH, which is produced here. We do a FSH, LH if you are, having question about ovulation. We do ACTH, which is another hormone produced here. We sometimes do prolactin just to make sure. So their hormones can be assessed. They're only produced here in the pituitary gland. Then you have to measure their peripheral gland too, because it's a feedback system. So you have to have the whole hormone profile to make sense. Otherwise, you don't know which one is the original thing, right? So it's evaluation done by blood test.
Okay, Shannon, I want you to share your slides. And then what we're gonna do is we're gonna take questions from people
Yes.
on Zoom. So you guys can begin to share your questions with Claire. And then if you guys have questions that are that you would prefer to keep private, Claire will hand out 3x5 cards and a pen, and you guys can write down your questions. If you're comfortable asking your questions here, that's fine. And certainly the same with Zoom, right, Claire? If people want to ask their questions. So Shanghai, I have more questions for you, but we're running out of time. So I want to get to everybody else's questions, and if you could share your slides, that would be great. So should we turn this screen, Claire? I mean, yes.
Okay, so the screen is right there. So I only have 3 slides. Normally I have 125. So it's just like
That is true.
Yes. So no, I can't see it.
Oh no.
But that's okay. So
I think you should put them on.
so basically, sex life.
Yeah, so Shanghai, why don't you stand up and talk
Yes,
about it?
I'm going.
Yeah.
That's a good
Can
idea.
everyone see?
Okay, everybody can see that. So Now, I want to talk about 6 lies and 3 whys. That sounds like kind of fun. So 6 lies, next slide. Could you push the next, okay, there's a 6 lies, okay? The first lie, which is basically is natural. Everybody goes to natural hormone decline, we like to be natural. I have so many women friends. They're just like, aren't you doing something artificial? That is actually a lie because before hormone replacement, okay, this is probably 1930, 1940, women's life expectancy is 48. You guys know that? People like, they didn't know that. They thought we just naturally live very long. The average, okay, I'm not saying about my grandmother and, those, amazing people. So that's why it's 48, because nature is pretty, efficient. You have babies when you're in your 18, 19, and by the time you're 40 and the kids are grown. So they are like little wolves and they're ready to go, do their thing. So nature arranged in such a way that when you're 48, your heart starts to fall apart, your bones start to fall apart, and you can't run away because the tiger comes to chase you down, and then you can't run away, and you'll die, right? We break our bone, we have a heart attack. So naturally, we actually have a pretty good life. 48 is pretty long, but modern medicine, housing, hygiene, is kind of we survive. So I would say most women modern women live their entire life, 50% have no hormones. And it's maintained by medicine, improvement of civilization. So naturally, we're supposed to decline and die. We didn't, because we have modern life, all the supplements, we have cosmetic surgery, make us look really beautiful, even though we're older, right? So that's a lie. We actually do not naturally live a healthy life all the way. So we start having a lot of problems, right? Did I touch something? Ooh, the second lie is, you're depressed. We give you Prozac. Yeah, it was kind of like squeezed over like this. This is such a cool TV. So the second one is we treat you, right? If you have high blood, do you guys know high blood pressure in women are related to hormone? Do you guys know? Like estrogen deficiency and menopause, women start having high blood pressure. I just saw a woman a couple of days ago. She's only like 36 and she has some kind of brain injury. She's taking high blood pressure pills. And the doctor said, well, did your parents have high blood pressure? She said, yeah. Oh, it runs in the genetic. It's your gene. You just have to take this 2 blood pressure pill. She's a beautiful, healthy woman taking blood pressure pill at the age 36. That doesn't make sense, okay? It's not a genetic thing. It's actually hormonal decline. So treating symptoms with pharmaceutical drugs are very common. We treat with antidepressant, anti-anxiety, we give people blood pressure pills and all that. The third lie is diet will do it. Supplement herbs will totally treat your whole thing, okay? Again, it's treating the symptoms. We're not addressing the aging process caused by deficiency of estrogen progesterone. Number 4th lie is treating symptom with minimal hormone. I give you just a little bit. A little bit is safer. You guys know, little bit is actually not safer. Hormones, endocrine disruptors have a feature. It's not a dose-dependent phenomenon, okay? Hormones at low dose can be more proliferative than high dose. Seriously, the body is not the more, the higher. That's what I learned about endocrine disruptors. One of the most significant thing you guys probably learned is atrazine. Atrazine, have you heard of atrazine? It's an herbicide. It's very common. At a very low level, can make a male frog become a female frog and have babies at very low level, okay? Again, endocrine disruptor actually works completely different at low dose versus high dose. Another good example is tamoxifen. Have you guys heard of tamoxifen, a big breast cancer drug? At low dose, it actually stimulates breast cancer. That's why we don't do low dose tamoxifen. At high dose, it suppress breast cancer. And tamoxifen is estrogen antagonist, right? Endocrine disruptors do not have the linear thing. Now the higher, people always say that. Glyphosate, oh, my level is not too high. I only have 1.5. Glyphosate at very low dose will shrink the testicles of little rats, male rats, and you wonder why so many men have low testosterone today? Men's testosterone today compared to 20, 40 years ago is half at old age. Okay, so if you have a man, boyfriend, and you have them test the testosterone level, they could be 26 years old and their testosterone is like 400.
What about children, like the boys, you know, like they're young now?
Yes.
What's the prediction for like next?
I don't have a lot of data on pediatric, the boys, but I do have data on young men. I mean, that's like a big study they recently did. They basically
40% of males, 30 years and older have low testosterone. And in turn, the prostate and testicular cancer had risen 400% in the last 50 years. And the unfortunate thinking in the allopathic medical community for young men is that, you know, they don't really want to give them testosterone, bioidentical testosterone, they give them chemicals
right.
because they think it will induce problems, prostate cancer, et cetera, but the reverse is true.
Right. So again, we're only looking at the symptom of toxic testicle killer. The one that I absolutely convinced is glyphosate, okay? So glyphosate is the main ingredient in 750 herbicides in our country. They use it everywhere. They use it for harvesting. So what does boys like to do? They like to drink beer. They like to go after work, have some beer. What is a beer made of? Hops. It's a grain. Hops are mostly grown, I've been there, in Yakima, Washington. They spray Roundup to dry the leaves so they can harvest the hop. So a man drinking beer when you're young, you're supposed to be okay with it, right? Beer is basically aromatase. They convert testosterone to estrogen, okay? But if the hops has glyphosate in it, it kills the testicles. It also causes liver to become fatty. So fatty liver disease increase the most in young men because they drink beer and on top of others.
Well, can we just wait for questions, Dan? Can you finish these slides, darling?
Okay,
Just in the interest
so-
of, and I want people to be able to, for
Yes.
you to sit down and
Thank
answer
you.
questions and for
I
people
can
to
go
hear
on
you.
forever.
We also need
For
to
500.
answer questions from Zoom. So,
Yes.
Okay.
So the next one is we talk about the minimal hormones. Sometimes they don't really, not all women, some people do benefit, but in the majority does not benefit. The high hormones. Okay, so we are now seeing, we have estrogen injections. Okay, we have just injecting estrogen or injecting high dose of testosterone, which is very common in hormone replacement. I was shocked. What do they do? Well, just high level doesn't really make sense either, because sometimes if you have all this liver metabolism, because the hormones are metabolized in the liver. When the liver is not metabolizing quick enough, you know, women feel good when you have high testosterone, trust me. You feel confident, you start losing fat. Actually, Dr. Valerie Donaldson is another physician we use, and she was doing a triathlon event, and she was on biorhythmic hormone. She said, you know, I decided to compete, so I stopped all my female hormone. I just do testosterone. My belly fat was gone. I feel so strong. I finished the event. Okay. She said, but one thing I noticed, my brain doesn't work. So she, she only did that short term. So it's really important to know, just high hormones. Hormones are very tricky. Hormones are too low, too high, no good. Okay, not optimal, right? The sixth lie is you're too young to have hormone issues. We have women in their 17 years old suddenly lose their period. So they go to the doctor and the doctor said, well, you're too young, let me just give you a birth control pill so you can, start having menstruation. I just saw a beautiful holistic physician. She's 32, okay? She's vegan, healthy. I did environmental toxin test. She actually didn't have a lot. She finished school in Chicago. She went to Irvine, fell in love with a Chinese doctor. They decided to have babies, and they're not having babies. So she went to the infertility clinic, and they measure whatever thing. They said, you are going into premature ovarian failure. She's 32, and she was told that she need to borrow somebody else's egg with her husband and have a, artificial thing. Within 1 month, support her pituitary, detoxify, balance, she had her period back. 2 months, her ovaries function. She's producing estrogen on herself. Okay, this is real. That I don't know if she's on it because I invited her to come to this talk, because she's like really healthy lady. Why she's not having her own ovarian function? People don't ask why, they ask what to do. That's very simple. So I really want people to know, no matter what scenario you are in, we need to get to the root cause. That's really much more effective and less expensive. We have people going through 2 years in vivo, their day, and a lot of money. And the insurance company only pay for 2 years. So if you're not getting pregnant, it's on your own. We need to address why. And it's really, really simple. Stress, toxins, your genetic. Why genetic? Another controversial is glutathione supplement. We have a lot of people taking NAC, glutathione liposomal, because everybody's low, people are all taking it, I tried before. And glutathione without transferase does not detoxify toxins. You need glutathione, toxins, and the transferase. You need all three to detoxify. If you're just giving glutathione, if somebody has transferase deficiency, genetic, the glutathione you give to people, number one, doesn't really work. Number two, it can be oxidized. When glutathione is oxidized, it's not being recycled. That's not a good thing to have. It's like you have oxidative stress in your body. Very important to understand, the natural things our body do, they do much better than supplement. Okay, if you are having glutathione deficiency, vitamin C deficiency, vitamin C is supplemented. Glutathione is made by our body. When you have deficiency, you need to ask why. Ask why. If the physician doesn't tell you why, you need to say, why you don't tell me why, right? It's very important. So it's something we all need to be educated, because we're living in a different time in human and planet history. We cannot address new problems with old wisdom. Some of this wisdom are just really old. Not because they're old and useless, they're just being addressed, they're challenged by the environment. Okay. So my 3 why, we just push something.
The next slide.
The next. So 6 lies and 3 whys. Again, 3 whys. Number 1, we're facing the most toxic time in human history. You probably heard the forever chemical, PFAS. Have you guys heard of PFAS? So basically, it's a large 800 different kind of chemical. They are used for fire retardants, oil, water, resistant. And the one thing is we go to Whole Food, we buy food with their little containers that look really natural, their brown color box. You guys know that?
Yeah.
What is in the coating?
PFAS.
PFAS, okay? So you want to cook your food. Yeah, that's why I'm trying to get her, I mean, she just moved. And so she needs to start cooking her food, not buying in those containers. Because those containers are water, oil resistant. They're PFAS. Even they're not in McDonald's, they're in Whole Foods, okay? So you gotta watch those containers. They're they're PFAS. PFAS is the biggest reason the immune system requires 5 boosters. PFAS is immune system suppression, okay? So if you guys don't know anything about PFAS, there's a beautiful movie. It's actually entertaining, it's not all boring, because environmental movies are depressing, nobody wants to watch. This movie is called The Dark Water.
Sounds very depressing.
Well, that's PFAS for you. And then, PFAS actually causes immune system. When I first saw, well, this vaccine is so great. People should be pretty resistant. No, 4 months later, it's gone. So we have to get another one, and we have to get another one. It's really because our immune system no longer works. When the poison is deep into the immune system, actually the immune system is the most sensitive to toxins, to all toxins. Because people say, well, immune system, what do I do? Allergies. Allergies, number one sign the immune system is fighting something. Immune system fight chemicals the same way as virus and bacteria. Because immune system doesn't know this is not a virus. Immune system sees a foreign thing. Our body doesn't know, it starts to fight. It's just the way it is. So chronic immune system fighting causes chronic inflammation. Again, in the past couple of years, we have lots of anti-inflammatory. People love turmeric. They do omega-3. They do cat's claw. They are so inflamed. People say, why we're so inflamed? Chemicals. Seriously.
Okay, this is sex, lies, and menopause. Okay,
What?
let's go, okay.
So the first why is we are basically bombarded with environmental toxins. Glyphosate, BPA, I've been testing people for 5 years. Glyphosate and BPA are the top volume chemicals, okay? They don't measure PFAS because I don't know, the lab doesn't measure, but PFAS probably is right there. The second why, so we have 3 whys. The second why is the new type of stress, okay? This is actually really good. We humans thrive on stress, okay? I don't want to say we're all wimpy people now. Now, when we're back, 100 years ago, I was just telling Julie, living in China, we don't have a refrigerator. We take shower once a week. We have no food. I mean, it's really very stressful. Humans are good with stress. The new stress, though, the internet constantly reminds you of something. You're constantly online. There's constantly bad news. We're more connected with the world. In the past, maybe, there's a war, we don't even know. I mean, we rely on some kind of news, right? Now it's everywhere. So we have more stress. Last 2 years, the stress is new. Why? Dr. Vesna can't see her patient, right? She can't see her patient. We have patient have the pandemic. We're all shut down. We can't hug each other. I can't see my mom. These are new stress. Business is becoming. Physicians today are so challenged. There's so much internet pseudoscience. I'm not kidding you. My patients are so confused. Today, this diet is better than the other diet. They can't eat anything. They have this other very stressful. Internet is actually a very stressful, confusing place. When the brain is confused, the brain is stressed. Seriously. So a lot of new stress. Our brain system, sympathetic overdrive. If you're stressed, catecholamines, going. Our adrenal is maximized. That's our body's tool. Our body doesn't have any other tools. So the new stress has challenged our body's ability to go against, whatever living situation. So talking about sex drive, when we have so much stress, the body produces massive amount of cortisol. The cortisol will inhibit everybody's stress drive. Doesn't matter who. The young people, young kids, don't have sex drive.
I don't know about
Try
that,
some.
actually.
You should do a study. Millennials are not having sex. I don't know about the next generation, maybe they are.
Gen Z.
Maybe Gen Z are a little better, but millennials are not having sex, okay? So stress is unprecedented, toxins, now genetic. So I started doing genetic study. I want to see, what's going on. Everybody said they have the MTHFR. So I did I have homozygous. I'm pretty good, actually. Because people say, I have homozygous, I'm falling apart.
I'm sorry, I can't understand, what did you say?
So methylation defect.
Methylation defect?
Right. So when you do a genetic study, they give you different functions of your body. So one of the major discovery, actually clinically significant, is the body utilize folic acid, folic acid, to repair brain injury, to detoxify, for brain function, sleeping, neurotransmitter production, homocysteine, help your vascular. It rely on the folic acid to be methylated. Methylation is CH3, a little group of molecules need to be added to folic acid. Normally, a lot of people just naturally methylate, but 30% of Americans don't methylate. Okay, so they rely on microbes to methylate folic acid. What killed the microbes? Antibiotic, glyphosate, right? So suddenly we don't have the microbes. So we have this group of women are a little bit crazy. They can methylate, they can detox, they're sensitive environmentally. That's a big discovery. So when people say genetically, a group of women or men will have more problem because of that. So what happened when I mentioned this is people always wonder why we have the same toxins and the results are different, you see? So that's really the why I'm trying to point it out. Just because your dad didn't have the problem or your husband didn't have the problem, doesn't mean you are crazy, right? It's basically depends on your genetic, okay? So best example is somebody spraying the glyphosate. I have a couple of physicians, they're in Mount Shasta, they spray the Roundup every year. So 5 years ago, the woman developed a pancreatic tumor. We thought she was going to die. We thought it was cancer. Her thyroid was developing cancerous. So she had her thyroid removed. She's now disabled because she can't eat because her pancreas is not working. Simultaneously, her husband had bone marrow suppression and had the colon issue. When I did the toxin analysis, what do they share in common is glyphosate. Because the woman was spraying for weed, and the husband gets some, and they both have the same poison, but the disease is completely different. That's the problem with people say, well, if glyphosate is so bad, everybody should have the same thing. No, because they work with your genetics. Now, according to CDC, okay, we're going too long, but according to CDC, 80% of modern chronic disease are the result of your environment interacting with your genetic. CDC, NIH both said it. So what we need to do is to apply the instruction, okay, the science, to practice. You look at the gene, you look at the environment, you solve the problem. Very, very simple. No more confusion. So again, back to you.
Okay,
I can talk about this forever.
No, we know that. Okay,
Yes.
so Claire, do we have questions on the
So we do,
Zoom?
we have 3 questions from Zoom.
Okay.
This runs so that.
Yeah.
Yes.
Answer.
Okay.
Great.
Put it over here.
Yeah, let's put it over here. Oh, thank you.
Okay.
Okay, perfect. So let me go on.
Can they see her even though the slides are up here?
Yeah.
Okay, question. The more the better. I love questions.
I want to stick to the topic, though. Sex, and menopause, or anything having to do with female hormones. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. So
on Zoom, we have some questions about specific detail about how us women can detox on a daily basis and kind of action items that we can start doing now.
Very good. Okay, so detoxification, people, you need to understand there's two processes. The body have to biotransform the toxins into non-harmless form, okay? So that process is called biotransformation. It happens intracellularly, also in the liver. So you need to support the biotransformation of the toxins. We're going to talk about heavy metal both a little different because they're different toxins. I'm talking about chemicals. Chemicals need to go through biotransformation, and then it need to be eliminated. So elimination is sweating, pooping, and peeing. In women, uterine bleed is actually a type of detox. So when women lose their uterus, they need to be really on top of it because we're just losing that detox pathway we used to do every month.
Menopause as well, right?
Menopause as well, where people lose uterus, menopause.
No, right.
Right, menopause, you stop menstruating. So a lot of people are doing sauna, right? Colonic, pooping. That's elimination. Elimination is important, but don't forget, biotransformation is very, very important. And in the biotransformation, the most important pathway is called glucuronidation. That's a supplement I need to support. Why? Because if we live in the forest long time ago, we produce about 200 milligrams a day. We don't live in the forest. We're bombarded. We need supplement calcium deglucarate, period. It does not eliminate estrogen, trust me. Because we initially was all, it get rid of estrogen. It actually does not. We wish it does. We have people taking 3,000 milligrams, their estrogen is still 400. So very, very important. It's a biotransformation called glucuronidation. Now, people also said salt, the glutathione, amino acid, they're all really important, but they're not the workhorse. When you see horses, there's one just for show, The workhorse is calcium deglucarate. And that 200 milligram, not working anymore, period. Not enough. Vegans actually tend to have weak and aerobic athletes, the skinny people here, they have low protein, they're high carb. The calcium deglucarate need to be supported because they actually suppress the glucuronidation process as well. So as a vegan, I'm a vegan, I actually have to supplement with calcium deglucarate. So that's one. The other thing is the alkaline. Your body needs to be more alkaline. One most devastating discovery we have is people on ketogenic diet. Ketogenic diet are very high in fat. Fat is really hard on the liver, okay? Very hard. Fat also creates ketosis and acidosis. In the kidney, if your kidney is too acidic, it does not release toxins. So people on ketogenic diet, for one thing, is they're not releasing toxins as fast. So alkaline diet is all green vegetables. Lemon, like vegetables, fruits. Fruits actually alkaline, they're not acidic. So that's help you with the body needs to be more alkaline, okay? Paleo diet, which is high protein. High protein diet is very hard on the kidney. High fat is hard on the liver. High protein is on the kidney. Again, people always say, I need my protein. It's so cute. Like every time, like my time to eat some protein. It's so common, even in the healthy people. So I just want everybody to know, how do you calculate your protein requirement? You divide your body weight by 2.2, okay? If you're active, that's the amount of protein you take. I mean, you exercise every single day. Like I come to Chicago, I do bike ride in the morning, I walk every morning. Okay, I haven't missed one day except that rainy day. So
When
that
you went swimming.
when you are super active, you divide by 2.2. If you are kind of sedentary, do a little walk, you divide it by 2 again. That's the amount of protein you need. That's called the basic protein requirement. People say, where did you get that number? Where did you get it? Well, long time ago, people, the group of scientists are trying to find out how much protein we need. So they get a bunch of young people and they measure the urine protein expelled. Because the kidney have to deal with the protein, remember? So they give them different amount of protein, they calculate nitrogen balance. And they found out when you reach certain point, the body starts to spill the protein, okay? So that point is how they calculate based on the body weight. So if you eat a lot of protein, Americans taking 2 times more protein than we need.
How much did you say?
2 times more Americans.
No, how much did you say that your
You
body?
calculate your body weight by 2.2, and you calculate again. For example, I'm 110 pounds. So I divided by 2.2, I'm about 50, right? Divided, I'm active, so I need 50 grams of protein. That's not a lot of protein. If you have chicken breast and a piece of steak, that's 150 grams of protein right there. Right there.
On a vegan diet, what do you said you do eat vegan?
Yeah, on vegan diet, vegetable have protein. So I basically do my protein shake in the morning, which is about 15 grams. And I need another 35, which is probably a piece of tofu. It's not very much protein. If you calculate, it's not very much protein.
Potatoes, complete protein.
Yeah, kale, broccoli, potato, they all have protein. You know, look at the horses. Do you guys see horses?
Okay.
Okay, they don't eat any chicken. They're muscular. We actually biosynthesize protein.
Okay, so what other questions, Claire, please?
So we have a question, what hormonal protocol do you recommend for menopause?
Okay, very good question.
Okay,
Yes.
do you want to answer that now? Okay,
Okay, I have to answer that.
okay.
So hormone replacement is it's very personal. What I recommend people do is do your own diligence and work with physicians who are very open. Because some people cannot metabolize estrogen, they have a liver problem, they drink alcohol every day. Probably not a good idea to do biorhythmic, okay? I love biorhythmic.
So
For
explain.
many reasons. Biorhythmic is basically give your hormone the way as if you are still ovulating. So you have a peak estrogen on day 12 and a peak progesterone on day 21. When you give the hormones a biorhythm, your body have more sensitivity to the receptors, okay? Because our receptors are made in the biorhythm. We have people do flat dose that benefit well, and Dr. Vesna has been doing for a long time. And she also checked people's lab level. You have to make sure it's working. We have a lot of people doing flat dose. Initially, they have good response, and then they start losing it, right? They're like, I don't feel like, sexy anymore. It's because the receptors are not responding. So when you're doing the rhythm, the receptors are more likely to respond, okay? But it's not for everyone. It's never for everyone. So personal thing, if you have history of breast cancer, of course, you need to look at your genetics, and you can still, learn about how to address it. And then biorhythm or flat dose are, depends on your metabolism. I do not like giving women testosterone.
Okay, that's an important.
That's important
We
because
need
it's
to
pretty popular.
exclamation point that.
Right.
Because I have heard of a lot of women getting testosterone pellets.
Right.
So you and I have discussed this because my observation has been when women do testosterone pellets exclusively, now this is just my study of what is best, I call it N equals one. So it's not like I've done blood tests on 50
Right.
women who use testosterone pellets,
Right.
but my experience is they get very muscular, they get a little bit edgy, and their hair,
Very confident.
yeah, and their hair gets funky,
Right.
their face swells up, and they feel like I feel great. And I'm just like, well, that's cool, because I really like being a little more juicy, but everybody's got their own thing. So you.
I do not recommend testosterone therapy for women only. Let me tell you why. Because women are not men. We're not little men. That's a good one. Women are not little men, okay? So that's number one. So we have to honor our body's receptors, our body's ability to metabolize estrogen, metabolize progesterone. Our body are made from estrogen and progesterone. We need a little bit testosterone, for the action of, going out on a date, okay? But we're not testosterone. We're not made of testosterone. Our bone does not do testosterone by itself, So I think that's number one. Spiritually, estrogen is a molecule of love, okay? Love, I'm not just saying that. There is a book called The Female Brain. It's so fantastic.
It's a great book.
It's a great book. It's actually written by a psychiatrist at UCSF. She's a woman, she's doing woman counseling families. She wrote this beautiful book called Female Brain. She talked about different part of the brain start to mature when we become a teenager, and then how estrogen transforms this woman's brain. And when we are reproductive, we smell testosterone. We know intuitively how to find man, okay? And then we go to menopause, estrogen is very seductive. And you don't have to talk about it. I have women get on hormone program, suddenly they said, I'm 70 years old and this young man is asking me out. Do you think he can smell my testosterone, my estrogen? We know that when we're kids, when I was a teenager, we have a bunch of girls in the same dormitory. We all have the period at the same time. What is that? That is hormone. That is hormone. So estrogen is very seductive. You don't even have to be flirtatious. You are just attracting, it's a hormone communication. So testosterone does not generate that. Our society needs more love. We need more love. We need happy, loving women. Because don't you agree? That's what we have in common. Doesn't matter you are what race. We need more love. So that's another reason I feel we're not little men. We can be very powerful when our woman's identity is being recognized and connected with our brain, right? Our heart is connected to the brain. We need to be women. That's why.
Fabulous. That's awesome. Claire, are there any more Zoom
There's
questions?
one more question that's quick, but what kind of calcium do you recommend when you were talking before?
Right. Very good. We do not recommend calcium.
Okay.
Right.
Thanks.
I think we should type it in the text, what you were saying, calcium D.
Yeah, calcium called the calcium glucarate, that's a
And you
supplement.
should explain that it reduces the enzyme beta glucuronidase, which
Right.
is
Well,
what recirculates toxins, but yeah, I'm sorry.
yeah. Okay,
Right, yeah.
so,
And that's not.
Okay, so
Type it in your little notes, that's what I'm
Okay,
saying.
does anybody, do you guys want a 3x5 card if anybody wants to talk about like vaginal atrophy or anything like that, or are you good? You can ask your question. Yeah.
So I'm 56, I'm in a second marriage, I'm, well into menopause, but I'm having the best sex of my life.
Hell
yeah! I'm just wondering whether, I'm more confident, I'm more powerful, I'm more into my pleasure, I'm in a much better relationship.
Yes.
I'm just wondering if it could ever be that the psychology and the emotional maturity could actually,
Yeah.
mitigate the physiology.
Absolutely. Woman's body can produce estrogen all the way to 90s. We have people that get pregnant, age 70. So your adrenal are producing, your spirituality, of course, absolutely. When you're in love, of course, definitely. My thing though is not just about sex, see? There's other things are related to also hormones too, right? Our adrenal gland will work a little easier if we have hormones there. Because progesterone is actually a precursor for cortisol. I don't know if you guys know that. So it's really important to have that available. And some women can produce adrenal for a long time. And Dr. Bessner just shared with us, she just, didn't even need hormone anymore. But the transition.
Use it or lose it, sister.
Yeah. So it's not, again, definitely, some women, my grandmother didn't really need any hormones at all, but she did have osteoporosis, see? So you just don't know, but she didn't ride a bicycle and crash, so she probably doesn't need it, but I definitely need it. So when you decide to do hormone, you have very clear what do you want out of your life. That's really the most important question. Not because everybody else is doing it, you should do it. You know what I mean? Yes.
So I am 57. I've been in menopause since 40. Last period, 40. I am still having hot flashes. I am, but I'm super healthy,
Right.
super dynamic,
Right,
sex life fine.
right.
So my question is like, every year I've thought, maybe, you know what, women have been doing this for millennia. I should just let it ride itself out. How long can this possibly go on? And it's like every year. Right now, I'm having hot flash. So my question is like, A, do you just sort of keep riding the wave like I am? And B, is there any potential thing that I'm not addressing because I'm saying, let's just ride the wave out, that is like unseen damage or, what you were talking about, like preventative things, because I'm a very healthy person, I spend my time outside, I'm working, putting something in my body.
Yeah,
Super creative still, contributing to the planet.
So,
I would check, I would definitely find a good physician, check your bone density, probably get your immune system, get a natural killer cell measure, because immune system is your weapon.
But also.
Well, that's not a good one. Actually, never sick is not a good sign. I'm not telling you you're sick, because a lot of people say, I'm never sick, and then they have breast cancer. That's, when people feel sick, what is feeling sick? That's actually immune system doing things.
Yeah.
Do you see? So it could be you are super healthy, for sure. But I would definitely do a check. I would check the cholesterol, CRP, hemoglobin A1C, your kidney, liver, get a hormone level. Maybe you have breast.
4-point cortisol to see where your
Adrenal.
adrenals are. Because adrenal dysfunction can manifest itself with hot flushes.
Right.
Typically, 2-3 a.m. awakening with a hot flush, almost without having the result of, if a woman is in your category, we don't have adrenals.
Right. I will check it. You don't have to be like sick to check. I think by the time we're 50, I think everybody should check their cholesterol and all that good stuff. Bone density. Those are good questions.
Yeah, about detoxing from all these problems. So clean diet, clean water.
So we talk about the calcium deglucarate, which is glucuronidation support, that people should take a supplement. Depends on your toxic load. If people have brain success, I would do a pituitary, the whole hormone profile. Dr. Vesna can order it. She's right here, and Regin does that too. So I would do the hormone profile, make sure you do the calcium degrade. Heavy metal does not come up, seriously. I had a 23 amalgams removed many years ago, and heavy metal tend to store in the bone and the brain, and they don't come out. They really have, they will if you do sauna for 30 years, but we are accumulating much faster. We found out fracking is commonly practiced in this country. You guys know what fracking is? Is that it's a faster way and cheaper way to get oil and gas. That's why I hate oil and gas as the energy source, but we do that. During Trump's administration, they allow anybody, if you have a piece of land in Colorado, you can frack. There's no regulation. Fracking is they push water down into the earth and bring up the gas and the oil. The water is being used into the land. So when you get that deep into the fracking, you bring up gadolinium, thallium, cesium. Those are heavy metals we never seen before on Earth. Okay, so everybody, that water, go to the organic field. You eat organic food, it's not a guarantee you don't have fracking water. So heavy metal detox need to be done, period, because it's definitely a big problem. We block the liver metabolism of your hormones. It interacts with your glyphosate, it causes dementia. Not just in people with family history now. We have lots of people develop dementia, and if people have brain injury, stress, hormone issues, I would detoxify heavy metal.
How do you detoxify the heavy metal?
I use a systemic delivered zeolite, and Dr. Vesna also have it. It's basically go into the cell and then bind to the metal, deactivate it so the metal can't come out, and then you pee it out. And you do it every day. I've been doing it for 3 years. And my brain is so clear, it's incredible. Sometimes you have little brain fog things. I don't have that anymore. And my EMF sensitivity is gone, literally.
So is it a pill or what
It's
is
a
it?
liquid, you just drop her and it tastes nothing. So you can put in your coffee or your juice.
And what is it called?
It's called Clear Drop,
Clear drug.
right?
But it's a zeolite.
It's a fractionized zeolite purified to help people detoxify metals.
So Sean Hong and I as a team are offering consultations. Do you want to speak about that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, so I've been trying to find the physician, maybe Dr. Vesna will find that. We have a scan that scans metals and minerals and vitamin level. I'm planning to come back until we find someone who do it here. No pressure. And then,
I'll get them colleagues for it, I will.
yes, she said she will. And then I do online consulting. So I basically ask for $100 for 30 minutes. We like to look at your goals, because people's goals are different. What supplement are you taking? Maybe you are taking medication. We do a very brief consulting and donation, suggested donation. Now, if you're really poor, you don't have to pay me $100, okay? You can tell somebody else about this service. Play it forward. That's what I'm doing now. And that's what we suggest. If people have questions after this event, send email.
Yep.
You
To
can
me.
send her email, please, because I have so many email. I may miss your email, and she will coordinate. She will help me coordinate. Ideally, we want to teach physicians, so we always ask you, do you have somebody who may be interested in the conversation? Then we have the email to that physician as well, because I'm not your doctor, I'm just your consultant. And then this way, I'm hoping we can help more practitioners to practice environmental medicine.
Well, and help people live long and beautiful and healthy
Correct.
lives, right?
Oh, absolutely.
And have lives like Andrea and Sean Hong, who has a much younger husband. And, well, you guys have a lot of sex.
Yeah, so, sexy is this. People like sex just when I first met my husband, I feel like.
Oh, I know that story.
Right.
You wanna go there?
No. So sex, for women, we often think is a symbol of love, right? When we don't want to have sex, there's no love. It's actually not that, it's actually when you are spiritually in love, sex is just what is the frosting on the cake or something?
Yeah.
So anyway, I'm not obsessed with sex, but I think it's a very, very good thing to experience. Yes.
In a very loving relationship. And I guess there are all kinds of different, doesn't have to be, but, we have studied that, we are actually to be worshipped and adored and experience that kind of devotion is ecstasy, so.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Right. Okay.
Thank you. I'm sorry.
Okay, so, I don't know who's left on Zoom, but, okay, so we have a raffle. So there is an incredible lingerie store at 900 North Michigan. And she has donated a $200 gift certificate, which may get you the fabulous panty I could flash you and show you. I'm wearing. And under just different circumstances, I would. But anyway, so it's a $200 gift certificate, and Dr. Spool, you're offering
A saliva kit that tests hormones in a 30-minute
consultation, later.
Okay, great. We're gonna let, and we also, there's a great guy who owns a health food store on the Gold Coast, and Sean Hong and I had lunch with him the other day, and he heard that we were doing sex, lies, and menopause. And as a gentleman, he offered $100. So we got that too. So, okay, Darrell, why don't you draw the enchanté?
Okay. Ooh.
Is this you, Katrina? Katrina.
Wow.
That is Katrina, just your mom's signature. So sexy.
Nice.
So I have to, so I'll give her, okay. And then, you want to draw Vesna?
Okay, I'll draw Vesna.
Can I get that person? No, darling.
Here. Danielle Shaw.
Oh, Danielle Shaw, that's so nice. Do you know who Danielle is? Oh, you've met her. I'll share with you. That's great. Okay, that's great.
Yes.
Okay, one last.
Okay, one more. This little skinny one. So this one is Pamela Schmidt.
Oh, good, babe, you can go to the health food store.
Okay. Oh, right. Wow. Very
Okay,
nice.
so Sean Hong and I will stay here for additional questions. If anybody on Zoom has additional questions, please ping them to Claire. And then Sean Hong right now is going to do some Oligo scans. So why don't you, so there,
Yeah, I already scanned Pamela.
Yes, I will email you.
so explain what it is for the people.
So, okay.
Oh,
so-
wait, so I just want to say to everyone on Zoom, I can't see you anymore, but thank you for bearing with us. If you would like to spend more time, you got that with me and Sean Hong. Certainly, I'm happy to coordinate that and,
We're gonna do it on Zoom.
yeah, as Sean Hong said, it's just $100 donation and that's pretty miraculous for what she'll offer. And I've done that with many friends in the room, so, and it's extraordinarily beneficial. So we're happy to, well, I didn't see that comment, but we're so happy to do that.
And I will explain a little bit about legal scan. Okay, we need to hack. So that's why we can't do it for Zoom.
Well, yeah, you can.
And when we collect data, we actually measure 20 minerals and 14 heavy metals and vitamin levels. Okay, vitamin A, B, C, D, E. A lot of people taking it, they don't know how much they're taking, are they taking enough? Really good. It will save you money and find out if your supplement is working. We also measure, they also give you the mineral pairs, because in the past 2 years, a lot of people are taking zinc, right? And some people are completely off in the ratio with copper, because zinc and copper actually come in pairs. So when you have zinc and copper ratio off, you're gonna actually have issues. Calcium, magnesium, some people say, should I take calcium? Well, we need to see if you need it. Because too much calcium can cause organ calcification. That's not always good. Magnesium and calcium are a pair. Calcium and phosphorus are a pair. So if you have too much calcium, sometimes you get rid of the phosphorus, which is really dangerous. Phosphorus is really important for the brain function. So nutritional evaluation with Oligo scan is much cheaper. If you do the whole thing, the metals and the nutrition, it's probably thousands of dollars. So this is actually a really good tool. We're trying to get the physician in here in this area, because I don't live here, I can't have your hands all the time. Also, another thing is you can measure the comparison. So you can do once a day, you do your regimen, and then a year later, I don't really recommend calculate, test too many times. A year later, you can measure again to see which one improved, which one need to be fine-tuned.
So it's just by imprint of your hand?
It's a lighting device. It's called a spectrophotometer. It's developed by a scientist in Sweden, so it's European. They measure the absorption of light, because remember, calcium is different color than sodium. Remember when we do chemistry, we burn the sodium is yellow and potassium is different color. So it's based on different element absorb light differently. So it's actually a quantitative measurement. It's not an energetic measurement. Okay, so we can actually compare the day before and after. It's really good. It
Yeah.
costs $129, and you need to know your blood type. If you don't know your blood type, anybody knows that? You have blood type? Okay, then I can hold your hand and find out your blood type.
She did that for like 10 people last night.
Yeah, last time we did. That costs another extra $25 for the blood kit. Okay, we're gonna start you first.
Yes,
Yeah,
I'm excited.
yeah. You do know your blood type, right?
So my mother told me something and then I was giving my blood and they told me something else. So now
Okay.
she said
Okay.
RH plus A.
A+. So when you give blood, you remember?
No, because it was so long ago. I can't give my blood in the States.
Okay, so we need to do the blood test for you too. So who want to do this? We can do the blood poking. We have to go to the bathroom, we don't want to bleed all over the place.
I want to know.
You're okay.
Do it first,
You
yes.
don't know your blood type, or you know your blood?
I don't know.
I know my blood type. Okay, we can do the blood type person first, so she doesn't have to wait for the poking.
And I have to go, but I loved your talk, thank you for inviting me.
Yeah, so Gretchen, we have to take a picture together, because I haven't seen you forever.
I
Can
know.
we take a picture with Gretchen and everybody together?
Yeah, you
Yeah.
can, it's just like a,
Okay, let's do that.
Get everybody.
She's bio listening in Chicago, she also.
I gotta go.
She does nursery. And then you can take a picture. And then you can send.
Why don't we do a group shot of that?
Yes, yes. Who have everybody?
Oh, okay.
I'm gonna end the Zoom, so.
Thank you, Bob. Ciao, ciao, everybody. Thank you, thank you, thank you.